Talk to me about your you're doing lessons now. Is it just bass, or do you do guitar lessons now as well?
I can do guitar. I have in the
Uh-huh.
past, but I prefer to mainly stick with bass.
Okay.
And I've been teaching. Well, when I was playing guitar, I was giving guitar lessons. So between guitar and bass, I guess I've been teaching since I'd say the early '90s. I've been teaching for close to 3 decades,
Mm-hmm.
and I've taught at a couple music schools. I've taught at the Metairie School of Music. Um, I taught at a couple music stores that used to be open at the time, Rock and Roll Music. I taught there. I also have a couple websites I get students through. One which is Taylor Robinson, another one which is takelessons.com, and they've gotten me students through that. And I've done guitar, and I've taught privately, and but I prefer to stick with bass because I just feel more comfortable on bass, and I just feel I have it more together on bass. Like I said, I still have my chops on the guitar. I can still write, I can still play, but to me, when I pick it up, it kind of feels foreign to me. Whereas the bass, I feel right at home.
Sure. Yeah. Um, did this did this lead to sponsorships, or did the sponsorships come through other means?
No, it led to sponsorships because what I had to do was I wanted to get Bartolini because I've been playing basses with their pickups in them for years. And a friend of mine, ex-coworker, told me about Instagram about, I guess, 4 or 5 years ago. I was like, Instagram? What's that? I was like, man, you can put videos up on there and you can blah, blah, blah. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah, put some of your videos up on there, you playing bass, and people will check it out. I was like, all right. So I did that, and I was like, well, I wonder if I could get something out of this. So I hit up the Bartolini company, and they would tag. They said, okay, well, first you got to tag us in the videos. We'll look at the videos. We'll see if they're worth it. And so I started tagging them, and then they would email me and say, okay, for your videos, do this, don't do this, do this, do this. Definitely don't do this. So they gave me a list of do's and don'ts.
Yeah.
And the more I adhered to them, it'd come back to, hey, that was good. Now do it better. And then eventually, after so many videos, they took me on as a quote unquote emerging artist,
Mm-hmm.
and they sent me the contract, and I signed it. And so I get half off any of their stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, so I get a percentage off of that. I also tried getting with DR Strings, but that didn't really materialize. I'd like to get Ibanez, but that one is really tough because really you have to be a touring musician.
Uh-huh.
You really kind of have to have a name. It's hard to get sponsored with them. You really need to be out there, because I was looking at Ampeg as well, but it's the same thing. You have to be out there touring. You have to have a name for the most part to be able to get endorsement deals like that. But I'm more than happy with Bartolini, and if I could get DR Strings, great.
Yeah.
But I'm really happy with Bartolini. But it was work. It was doing the videos, and and I'll say this right now, any of those videos you may see on my own Instagram channel, not the Mimic Instagram channel, but my own Instagram channel, a lot of that was not one take, man. I had to stop. I had to reshoot. Some of the ones, yeah, I make it look easy, but don't think for a second that I nailed a lot of that in one take. I didn't. I'd mess up, like, nope, not good enough. Delete. Go back. Start it over.
Yeah, well, I mean, social media has a way of discarding transparency, I believe.
Yes.
So that's a comfort to let people, or I guess it's an encouragement for other people to know that it took some doing before
it did.
Materialized.
Yeah, because one of the videos I did, probably my most recent one on my own Instagram channel, I did the intro of a song by a band called Liquid Tension Experiment, which was basically a few of the guys from Dream Theater doing a solo thing, all instrumental.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this opening, and it's done on the keyboard and the guitar, and it's ridiculously fast. And I learned it and played it on the bass, and people were like, whoa, like that's like insane. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I didn't get it. It took quite a bit to get it. It's not one of those. So anybody out there, if they look at my videos and they're like, my God, look how he does. It's like, no, dude, that didn't happen just one time through. It took multiple.
At least you're not like, showing your tits and lighting it on fire and all this other crap. It's raw talent. It's not, it's not publicity stunts. So
Yeah, no, not.
applause for that.
Yeah, yeah, no, but it's also to show Bartolini, like, hey, look, your boy, is got a fair, a decent amount of chops to him, because my thing was too, a lot of bass videos that I see on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook, they're good videos, but it's a lot of guys who are just, they're really not doing anything outside the box. They're doing slapping, okay, they're doing funk bass lines from funk bands, which is cool, or they're doing whatever. And I'm thinking, well, nobody's trying to do. I mean, they do have some bass players that'll do sax stuff on bass. I've seen quite a few who are really good at it. But I'm thinking to myself, nobody's trying to do keyboard lines. Nobody's trying to do trumpet lines. So I would just try and do something different. Like, what is something I would do on bass that you wouldn't expect? Like, Randy Rhoads, he has a song on the first side of the album called D, which is a little classical thing he wrote for his mom. I did that on bass. I was doing like Bach pieces. I have some music from Bach and Beethoven. I was doing that on bass because nobody was really doing that.
Sure.
They're doing like Flea from the Chili Peppers, or they're doing Jocko, or they're doing Les Claypool. And it's like, well, I really don't see people trying to do Bach, or, trying to do this or do that. So let me just kind of step outside the box on that a little bit and do something different. Again, it's just to do it, just to stand out, because I don't like being a clone. I want to have my own individual personality, be it as myself, as my own person, or the instrument that I play. What I should say is the way I play, because a lot of people play Ibanez basses, but I just want to have my own identity. I want people here and be like, yeah, that's Jorge, or George, whatever, like, yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
I don't want him to be like, oh, that sounds like so-and-so, or that sounds like so-and-so, because then it's like, well, kind of defeats the purpose. But, I get it. I mean, there are some people that, they idolize their favorite player, and they want to sound like that, and, some wind up being clones, and so be it. I'm not going to knock it.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, what it is. But for me, I mean, I love Jocko. I love Geddy Lee. I love Billy Sheehan, Steve Harris, Geezer Butler, Cliff Burt. Love all those guys. But I don't want people to hear my stuff and say, oh, that sounds exactly like so-and-so. I mean, if anything, I want you to hear the influences, but the influences are filtered through my own way of translating said influences into my own style.
Translation, yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you how some of those pieces translated onto the bass. How did you feel they came across? So some of them are not going to be a good fit, and some of them are going to be palatable, you know what I'm saying?
I chose the ones I thought made the most melodic sense, and to an extent were a bit easier to do. The ones that would really come across as melodic and stand out was what I was going for. Not so much like what was the hardest thing I could play, although there are a couple pieces that were definitely challenging. But for me, it was more of the melodic aspect, like, something you could hum, something that was catchy,
Sure.
as opposed to just a constant string or run of notes, because eventually that'll bore the listener.
Sure.
So I think whatever I did do, I think it came across well.
Yeah. Did some translate better than others, like Bach, as opposed to a keyboard theory piece? Or
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Even though those guys wrote on piano, I found that, like, for example, the classical stuff, especially the Bach's, what they call his inventions, which are their two parts. You have a part that's played in treble clef and a part in bass clef. And so I would what I would do is I would play the treble clef part, which you wouldn't really expect to be done on a bass. And I found that it lent itself a bit better than, say, other pieces did. Like, there were other pieces in there that were maybe a bit more spread out. Whereas with the ones I went for, they were a bit more compact, a little bit more notey, so to speak, but they were melodic, and at the time, Instagram, they only allowed you 1 minute to get your point across. So it's like, okay, what can I do in 1 minute to make the listener be like, oh, that's cool? So I kind of had to go with something that might have been, like I said, I wanted it to be melodic, but at the same time, I also wanted it to be a bit challenging.
Yeah.
And it's like, what can I do in a minute? What can I distill in a minute?
Yeah, that's not easy.
No,
Yeah.
not at all. And there was stuff I had to discard because I'd look back at it and it'd go like a minute and 2 seconds and it would cut off. I'd be like, oh, well, man, you can't see the rest of it. So then I'd have to go back
Yeah.
and either try and play it faster or just, no, I need to pick another piece that's shorter.
Yeah, sure. Tell everybody where they can find examples of your work.
Okay. As far as me doing the classical bass pieces and stuff like that, there is my Instagram, which is J, then an underscore, then my last name, CAICEDO7. There's that. Then there is the Mimic Instagram, which is Mimic, M-I-M-I-C as it's spelled, 720. And on there, I'm playing a few examples of the songs from the Bandcamp, playing certain bass parts. As far as Mimic itself, there is the Bandcamp site, which is Mimic1, Mimic and the number 1.bandcamp.com. And then today I just put us on Reverb Nation as Mimic. So if anybody wants to check it out or see, what David's referring to or what the stuff I'm doing, it's on both Instagrams, J underscore CAICEDO7 and then Mimic 720.
Okay, cool. And the grooves too.
The Grooks. The Grooks, they have a I think the group they have a Reverb Nation. We really haven't done anything since about October, November of last year.
Okay.
Mainly because the other members are involved in different projects. For example, our drummer Don, he's now playing guitar in the Tomb of Nick Cage.
Mm-hmm.
He's a new guitar player, and they got and congrats to him for that because they're a really good band and they got quite a bit of a following going. So he's playing in the Tomb of Nick Cage. He's playing in the Dreadfields. And then our singer-guitarist, he's doing, speaking of keyboards, he's doing kind of like a very minimalist kind of thing with a Moog. Kind of like, I think he's going for like a Kraftwerk electronic kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
He's been going under the name the Keyboard Junkie. And he's been doing like little shows, I think at like Siberia or Santos, whatever. So we're all involved with different things. So there's really, if anybody wants to check the groups out there, they're on Reverb Nation, definitely. And so, people can check them out there for sure. And yeah, that's about it really between the Instagrams and the Instagrams, the Bandcamp. And then I have my own personal Facebook, which, people are already posting on that. You can just find. I'm easy to find. So yeah, that's if you want to check anything out, they can go to those aforementioned sites.
Cool. All right, man. I think that's about it.
Thank you, David.
Appreciate it, man.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
A B C D E F C G